What's up, creative people? Welcome to the podcast. My name is Ryan Leacock. This is the podcast for people who are the real deal. Today, I'm talking with KWfamous herself, Robin Lindner. You know, on my way here to the studio to put together this episode, I saw my sister's husband's father downstairs. I work, the studio's downtown Kitchener. So I saw him downstairs and he had actually just bought, and I mean, literally, I saw the sale take place. He just bought a KWfamous Mount Trashmore t-shirt for my brother-in-law. Small world, smaller town. Robin is one part of Robin Elaine, a branding company here in Kitchener-Waterloo, and she's someone who's doing what she can to build a creative community and, you know, love for our region with KWfamous and other things that she does. I love that. Also, we had the best chat. Robin and I struggled to keep it professional against the giggles, I guess. She's the best. It's a great chat. Before we get to Robin, how's everyone doing? I think it's safe to say that we've begun our approach to the transition back to regular life, whatever that means. And I'll be honest, that's got me like restless. It's got me excited. It's got me exhausted. It's got me scared, impatient, just a ball of contradictions. And I'm wondering how other people are handling the approach to the transition and how we're going to handle the transition. You know, what kind of art is going to be inspired from this time period? And how will this new normal or the transition back to regular life, or, you know, how are the changes from our regular life going to affect your work? I think there's some interesting questions there and some interesting stories to be told. So if you have an interesting piece or an insightful, interesting story about creativity in this time period, reach out. I'd love to hear from you. Maybe we can talk on the podcast sometime. That'd be cool. All right. Well, that's enough bumper talk. Let's get into it with my talk with Robin. Yeah, that's really good.
Oh my God, this is okay. We're gonna do this.
Well, now we're good. We're perfect.
We're
now.
So good. There's gonna be no problems from here on out.
Do you want to just start from the beginning and I'll have you introduce yourself?
Yeah, totally. Okay, my name is Robin and I am a brand designer. I do that through design, storytelling, and photography, or any different mediums, really.
And that's with your company, Robin Elaine, right?
Yeah. So Elaine and I started our company about 3 years ago now. Yeah. Crazy.
3 years ago, what was kind of the push for you that was like, I got to start my own thing?
It's like stubbornness, I guess. I don't know, not liking being told what to do. No, I don't know. I think it was a little bit of that, but also Elaine and I really hit it off because we both, one, we love KW and we love like going out doing stuff, but we found there wasn't a lot of stuff to do. So I think we bonded over like throwing an event, and then we worked on the event planning and design and marketing together. And yeah, we just like vibed so well that we're like, we maybe should do this again sometime. It was like,
that's
so nice. Was so magical. Yeah.
And how did you two meet? We
met. So don't judge me for this, but a group of friends of mine used to get together and we watched like The Bachelor every Monday night. Do you watch The Bachelor?
No.
Have you ever watched The Bachelorette, Bachelor in Paradise, none of those?
No, but I feel like I follow along through commercials sometimes. It's like, okay, that's what's happening up there.
You're such a better person than I am. Anyways, we would go and we would have like some drinks and like get pizza and just like watch The Bachelor and make fun of it. And then this one time, it was me and a bunch of dudes. And then maybe like the third time Elaine showed up and I'm like, oh my God, thank God, like a girl is coming. I was so excited. And she brought like all these candies and she called them the fantasy sweets. And then she brought like a single rose. And I was like, this girl's crazy, but like,
oh my goodness,
she's so much fun. So I fell in love with her, I think, that day.
That's amazing. I'm not a fan of The Bachelor, but I love a theme. So I'm loving it. I love how organic it was that you guys started working together. You know, like it just, anything that's less like, hey, let's just do more of this. That can't be bad, really, you know?
Yeah, especially like when people start paying you for it and then you're like, whoa, like we get to do what we like and you're going to pay us. That's so cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's a good feeling. Yeah.
So where did the whole creativity thing kind of start for you?
I actually asked my mom this question because I was like, I don't know. Yeah. I've never, she was like, that's interesting. She just said like, I was always very like, I don't know if it's creativity or just like, I like challenges or like I was curious or something. Like I loved creating new stuff, or like it came easy to me to like sculpt things or draw or paint. I think the moment I knew I wanted to do like art, though, I was thinking back, was in Salem Public School down in the country. There was like, I don't know, 100 kids. It was so small. But there was this custodian. I think his name is David. I actually tried to look him up today because I was like, what was his name? He was this amazing artist. And we'd always bug him at like recess and be like, David, can you draw us like a monkey, something stupid? And then he would. Yeah. And he'd like write it on a piece of paper and then he'd like give it to us. And we'd be like, cool. And like, I don't know. I think that that's not the moment, but I was like, that was the thing. That was the thing, the memory that your question sparked. Yeah, and I was like, oh, so random. Sorry.
No, I like it. And because, you know, like it's just a little thing, you know, it's just a little doodle and who knows how good it was, but it left an impact on you. I love that.
He was so good.
And it's just like the best thing about creativity is that connection. And then also that it's compulsive. You have to do it.
Totally. Yeah.
But then, you know, from your compulsive action, you can connect with people. It's great. So then you went from, for a second there also, when you said the janitor, I was like, is she going to tell me like a Queen's Gambit? Like, this is how I became a designer story. Yeah, he was teaching you like
and he
design
realized
basics.
I was a prodigy at that moment. No.
You should start a company one day, Robin.
Oh my God. Yeah, no, not that cool.
No.
Side note, French vanillas, Tim Hortons, I haven't had in about 15 years and they're still delicious.
Yeah.
Sorry, side note.
I got Tim Hortons the other day when I was coming here and I posted it and I, like just a picture and I was so embarrassed that it was Tim Hortons. So I don't know why.
I feel you. And why should we be embarrassed? Like we used to love Tim Hortons at one point.
I know.
Until they started selling like chicken fingers and you're like, who are you, Tim Hortons?
Yeah, that's
you forgot who you were. Let's talk about your brand. Okay.
Yeah, we should talk about their brand. They've completely lost their why.
Oh, completely. They have they lost their Canadian why. That's why.
Yeah. It's sad. So hi.
It's really hard to keep me on track. Like, let's do this. Focus.
It's not good when you have two people that are hard to keep on track.
This meeting was about Tim Hortons, right?
We like do something on spec right now. Send it to them. So high school, obviously this kept going. So you talked to me through about high school, how the creativity grew, and then
the creativity grew through my different hairstyles, my Avril Lavigne phases. Oh yeah, there was like, I like had a love for Avril Lavigne for a good couple years, and it was like band tees. I wore all black, and I wore like Vans. Actually, I wear. I feel like I wear that now. Yeah, different colors of hair, different cuts. Like I went pixie cut. I did it all. Creativity was definitely through the looks, you know. The looks. Sometimes not always good, but you can't be afraid of failure with creativity, you know?
That's true. And you know what? You're just owning it. And like, I don't know what's the deal today. I want to be so distracted. I want to talk about anything else.
So what were you like in high school?
Oh, very dorky.
No, I don't believe it.
Yeah. Well, I partially, like, a big part of it is I was raised Christian. So I was just like scared all the time.
Oh, that's terrible. I'm so sorry.
Me too. So after high school, how did you carry on with design? This has never happened before. Like, got the giggles.
I'm so glad. After high school, what did I do? I went to Conestoga College. I failed the first time, took a year off, went back another time, and then we got our goods. But after that, I went into advertising in Toronto, tried that out for a bit. I was drawing eggs for Burnbrae Farms. What is it? Yeah, just like character eggs. And I was like, this is cool for a couple of weeks. And then I was like, what the fuck am I doing? So it was great. And then I went into textile design. And that one was neat because then I got to learn about a lot of like trending colors for the year and like picking out patterns and designing my own patterns, like repeat patterns and picking out fabrics and like seeing your designs on physical things and stuff, which was really neat. Yeah. So I got to test out Like we helped start the Canadiana brand at Walmart, which was like my first kind of the big thing I saw in stores, which was neat. And we did like blankets and throws, and like I got to make a wolf howling at the moon blanket. And I just want to say that's the highlight of my career. And then I went to educational publishing after that and did like designs for kids books in like grade 8, grade 9. So I learned about like how to kind of simplify information and how kids read, like, and how they learn, and like designing things in a way that has like, well, it's good design should always have that, but it was like extra challenging because it was for a whole different audience. That was really fun. And then after that, I went to community tech, which is where we kind of left off, which is where I got the idea to, hey, maybe I'll start my own business and take some of the stuff that I've learned from these companies and do it myself with Elaine.
Mm-hmm. Was there any sort of strategy from you? Like, it sounds like you left school, but then you got kind of a continuing education through these jobs that you took. And it, you've kind of seen the whole spectrum, kids to, Hudson Bay.
Yeah. So that was just like, my continuing school of like learning what I want to do, learning what I don't want to do. And now I have a pretty wide range of things I can design and things I can offer, which is really fun because I get bored doing just like web design. I don't want to do just, print. I want to like kind of dabble, and I want to see what we can create, like with mixed, even if it's like designing an experience, like that's the cool thing about it is like you have all the tools to really design anything at that point. But
so you mentioned that first year of college and that it didn't go well. And that's not that I want to.
Oh, first year went well. Second year.
Oh,
not so well. But I don't know. There was some things I did wrong. There were some things I think, the program had wrong. And then they redesigned the program the next year, and then I came back. So it was like a happy story.
Okay.
Yeah, I was like, I fucked off, moved to Toronto. I was like a flight attendant for a year and worked in bars and like partied and did what like 22-year-olds do, or however old I was.
Sure.
21. And then I came back and I was like, I had a whole new perspective. I learned failure. I was like, okay, they were wrong totally, but clearly. But no, I learned a lot from it. Like I think that experience, like that was a big hit. Like I was terrified of failure before that. And after I did it, and I was like, fuck them. Like I'm still going to do it. And I like came back and did it with no problem. It was kind of like okay, cool. Like failure is not the worst thing that can happen, which was a big lesson in my life, I think, for sure.
That's a great experience for someone at the beginning of their career.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody should be, ripped to shreds.
Yeah. Because it takes away that like that fear of pain, right? You're like, oh, I've been through that before.
Yeah. I think every failure though, like I fail, not a lot, but I fail, a lot at little things. And it's just like, you just kind of learn to take things more gracefully and like, well, I guess risk less too. So you fail hopefully earlier, but it's, maybe it's like the tech world that has drilled that into me too.
Yeah.
Fail fast,
I've talked to a lot of tech people because of our region, and it is a really interesting thing about this area, that this mixture between, art and tech, I'd be interested like to hear your perspective on it, and because it does seem like the creatives in this region are having a moment, and we obviously have that tech background. Do you have any perspectives on kind of why that is and what's going on?
Of the like specifically between art and tech, and like why the creatives are kind of.
Do you have you seen anything like that? Do you have any thoughts on it?
Yeah, I mean, like it's part of like the branding of the city is like the creative capital, and like that initiative was started. And I think, we do have some amazing talent. We have, like everybody says, go to Toronto for design and go to the agency, spend like $80,000, when we actually have some killer students here. Like we have been working with some freelancers. The people coming out of Conestoga College are like friggin' killing it. Like I think what tech is starting to come around to understand is the importance of design now. And like companies overall are just like, okay, tech is important, but also design is, I would say, equally, if not more important. I'm a little biased because you need a good design to have strong tech, right? But yeah, I hope that like the trend continues and they start having like artists, the designer, like at the head of the table when they do start a project and make these big decisions, because there's still something like, it's not as credible being heard by a designer as it is like an engineer in this town. You know what I mean? There's still that like,
yeah, like a stigma,
right?
I guess.
Unless like if I was trying to build a bridge, I would get it. Like, don't listen to me. But like, you know what I mean? Like when starting a company, design, tech, all that good stuff.
Yeah. Rather than the design coming in after and trying to adapt to what the tech's already decided.
Yeah. Like a lot of companies are like coming to designers now to be like, we have no brand, we've done nothing. And like, now they have to start all over from scratch because they've just paid some designer $500 to do their logo because they don't understand the importance of it.
Talk to me about the importance of design. How do you view that? What does that mean to you?
I think it's just being thoughtful with every decision that you make. That applies to everything, whether it's building a product or an interface or a couch. Like, there has to be purpose to every decision. And like, also like, it has to be tested by multiple people, like not just one kind of person, like that works for the company, for instance. I think design, if you do your like homework up front and you do that design process and kind of get like all the worst case scenarios, everything in line, and like kind of plan everything, then you'll save yourself a ton of money and time down the line. So it's like, it's the foundation of everything.
And I like what you said about thoughtfulness. You know, that goes beyond having a purpose. Like thoughtfulness, it implies kindness and empathy and, you know, thinking. I like also it's different types of people trying things out.
Yeah, for sure. Because like, for instance, like hand dryers, they don't work like always for people of color. And it's like such a silly mess. That's like, how did this pass through? How did this happen? Because that person didn't think of everybody. They thought of themselves and the people they know, right? So it's like, I guess, I don't know. Everybody knows this. Start with a problem and like solving the problem and what it is. But
so what does that look like when you meet with a new client? Like, how do you kind of find out their problems and dive into it with them?
Start with a good, beer. No, I wish. Yeah, we just have like I don't know, it's nothing special. We just have like a real conversation and like have that one-on-one Zoom call now, I guess. And just ask them the hard questions. Like if they come to us saying, hey, we need a trifold brochure. And we're like, well, why? Why do you need a trifold brochure? Nobody needs a trifold brochure. Maybe some people do, but like just asking them why, like a toddler, a million times into getting that answer. From there, we we usually start every project with our Build a Brand workshop, it's like a 3-hour sprint where we really dive into the company's or the person's values. We talk about their 20-year timeline. So where do they want to be in 20 years? What are the milestones that they want to hit? And what do they want to build? Do they want to exit in 15 years? Because that has to be kind of built in the brand as well. Asking them just every single question that they possibly can and fighting them out in a room with each other really helps us set that foundation to starting any project. So yeah, we basically lock them in a room for 3 hours. That's how we start off any problem solving session. It sounds awful.
How do people react to that? Like, it sounds like a little like, oh, 20 years from now, shit, I don't fucking know.
Yeah, no, it's hard. It's like, I don't even know what I want for breakfast tomorrow. Like, what do you mean 20 years? But it gets them thinking. And like a lot of people, like they're simple questions. And a lot of people forget to ask themselves the simple questions. They kind of think about like, okay, what's the right now? What do I need to do tomorrow? But they don't think like, okay, so for instance, we're talking to this really cool company that does like infused honey. She makes this juice from ice wine grape, infuses it with honey. And her friend actually like has the bees at her farm, makes the honey. And then it's this whole community thing. And then like, she's like, yeah, I want like labels for my honey and a website. And then later on when we were talking about it, she's like, I want a whole like Airbnb experience with like the honeybees and a horse ranch and like selling a retail store and this. And it's like all these things come out when it's like, okay, well, now we're not just talking about, you know, this honey store, we're talking about this entire honey like wellness retreat. Like it's like those conversations that you just, well, I work with a lot of entrepreneurs, so I'm very lucky. And a lot of entrepreneurs have that same big passion and goal. So it's like, okay, why do you do what you do? Like really asking, like, why do you sell honey? Like, is it to make that money, honey? Like that was a terrible joke. Or is it to improve the community and like give back and all that stuff?
I like what you said though about the why, because really that you said the hard questions and I was like, I'm going to ask her what the hard questions are. And then you just kept on saying why. And it does kind of bring you down from trifold brochure to like, well, why do you want that? And then if you question why again, you do get down to the fundamentals fairly quickly.
Yeah, for sure. And it's fun. Yeah. Like some days it's just like, I don't want people to ask me questions. So those meetings are my favorite because I'm like, well, why? Like that doesn't make sense. Like they're like, oh, like we always have fun in it, but they're hard questions. They're hard.
Yeah. But like, if you're going to go through this, you know, and be an entrepreneur, it's hard. Everything's hard. So
yeah.
Let's talk about inspiration. What does inspiration mean to you?
What does inspiration mean to me? I think it's like inspiration is like the reason to do anything. Like it's your, it's, I don't know. It's like that fire.
Yeah.
Inspiration is fire. Yeah.
How does the fire interact with ideas? Like that sounds like the general drive of how do ideas spark in that fire?
I think for me personally, it has a lot to do with environment. I have to be in a space that makes me like happy and calm. Yeah. And whether that's like, sometimes if it's sunny, I like to be outside in nature. Sometimes it's at home smoking a joint and like listening to music. But I think like that's it. And just kind of getting in like a zone of like relaxation.
You hear a lot about inspiration and, you know, that it's for amateurs and hard work. How does that interact with work for you and the hard work?
Oh, I think if you do too much hard work and don't give any time to inspire yourself, like why? Like, I don't know, if you want to work that hard, go for it. But like, for me, that's the fun of it, is like getting that inspiration, like super cool feeling, and then getting excited and like working on it for 4 hours straight. And then my dog will bug me like to pee 10 times and I'll have to go out and go pee. And I'm like, those are the great breaks that you need to like subconsciously like let things percolate. You know what I mean? Like if I sit at a computer screen, and I'm sure you know this too, you're not going to get anything good. You need to go out and like fuel your fire, I guess, like actually move your body and like make sure you're hydrated and like honestly taking care of sleeping enough. Like sometimes I'll just wake up and have a dream and I'll be like, oh my God, that was such a good idea. And then I'll have to do it. And it's like, because I chose to go to sleep last night and instead of stay up till 4 a.m, which is great.
Yeah. Well, some nights you got to do that too. It's balance, right?
It's for sure. Well, you have 4 kids, so I imagine you have to do that a lot.
Well, they're all older now, but 4 times. The first year is the worst. So much. And in my defense, we wanted a girl and we had 3 boys and it was like, so we got our girl, but now we only shop with 2 of them. So people don't think we're too weird, because you come into anywhere, especially now, it's like, oh, I love what you said. And I wanted to add a little part that I've started doing is like, I love those moments where you get to percolate. And I'm now interacting with like my creativity. I was like, I'll review everything I'm supposed to do and like get it all in my head. And then I'll like throw away the paper and I'll go do something else. And just letting my brain kind of do it in the background. It's the best feeling.
Yeah. And it's funny. I have this rule where it's like Elaine and I always say it. You can't write down a really good idea, because if you forget it, it means it wasn't that good.
I think it was a book and someone was having they were on like psychedelics and someone was like watching them and they were trying to do something crazy. And they said, if it's that good of an idea, it'll still be a good idea tomorrow. And I was like, Oh, fuck. Yes.
Yeah.
I love that. That's great. Where was I going with that?
Psychedelics.
There's too many tangents to the...
You know...
Oh, I knew where I was going to go. No, go for it.
No.
No? Almost.
No, I'm not touching that one.
Talk to me about collaboration and partnership.
I love collaboration. I love partnership. It's what we base our business after. It's like the future. I think if we could just build a freelance network who took care of one another and then actually had like businesses pay like what freelancers are worth, no questions asked, we could just be like a big happy family. You know what I mean?
Mm. Yeah.
Sing it. That's all I want. I want like actually like that was kind of what KWfamous, like our little community project started. And what it is like, we just want to highlight creatives and stuff just like you around the KW area, because we're like, there's so many cool people around here that like you wouldn't know about if you weren't from here and knew, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that should change.
Yeah. I'm from this area from like forever. And I remember like 10 years ago being in like, you know, doing design with bands and stuff like that. It seemed like everyone was pushing uphill, and it's in the last few years, it was like everyone's kind of, it's like most people have reached this level of like maturity, and it's just good vibes. And I'm even doing the podcast, getting to open up this whole world and see this city that I love in a new light. It's been really, it's been the best actually. And then COVID happened, but it's been like the lifeline through the whole thing for me.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I'm totally there. So talk to me about the idea for KWfamous and how did that kind of build?
Yeah, that was like a fun kind of collaboration. It started off like, I think me and my friends were probably having wine together, and it kind of started with Otis the Swan. Like my friend Elaine started an account for the Swan in Victoria Park. And It just like, she did it just out of boredom. And she's like, I think this Swan needs like an online presence. So still the handle. The city was pissed. And then just like started bringing it this like sassy swan voice she started gaining fans. And like, there was like at one point a couple of thousand followers. And I was like, oh my God, like this Swan is KWfamous. And like, we just started throwing that thing around. Like my other friend is a politician, which she's running this year, by the way. She got in the news and we're like, KWfamous, you know? So yeah, so it just like spurred off of that. We grabbed the handle and then started. I love street photography. I love art and design. So I kind of just used it as like a storytelling vice. And then Elaine and I made some like swag, some t-shirts with like local landmarks like Mount Trashmore and like, you know, the local bars and stuff like that, just because like we kind of wanted it. And then when people started buying our stuff, like I think the first shirts were the Otis the Swan, and we said, let's just get like e-transfers. And we got people to transfer like money to Otis at KWfamous.com, like not even knowing us or the Swan. And people did it. We're like, who are you? Like, why do you trust us? But yeah, it just kind of caught on and people liked it. And now it's just like a thing that we do and we love.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's great. And it instills that pride, which I think I don't think we had for a long time. And I think it's nice to be proud of where you're from.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm not even from Kitchener, but I'm like from here. Like I say, like I'm from Fergus.
Oh, my wife's from Fergus.
Oh my God, shut up. We probably went to school together.
Oh, that's so weird.
What's her name?
Her name's Veronica Guthrie.
Veronica Guthrie.
Rachel Guthrie is her older sister. I don't know how old you are. So she has another sister named Melody
Guthrie. I'm going to look her up in the yearbook. I'm 32.
Yeah. Okay. She's 34. Oh. So.
Okay.
She went to, they built a new school. Like.
Yeah, CW.
It was like so she went to it when it was the old one.
Yeah, same. I was so mad. I had to do my last year in the new school. And I was like, the old school was so cool. Now it's condos.
My wife and I have been together since she was just after high school. So
that's so sweet.
I went to the graduation in the new one. And it was so weird because it was like none of the people had ever been in that building before. And their graduate, it was just weird.
Oh, that is weird. Why would they do that?
Fergus is all right though. I don't know.
I love I love Alora.
Yeah.
Fergus will always have a special place in my heart. Maybe I'll do a Fergus famous one day. I named my puppy Fergus.
Oh, I wondered. My wife, oh my God, that guy. So my wife's from Fergus, and she had a dog named Fergus as well.
No way. Oh my God. Can we be friends?
This is a lot of connections.
Can I be friends with your wife? And you, of course.
Go for it.
But also.
Yeah. But I used to make fun of her because like, you're from Fergus and your dog's name is Fergus. Like, it's like me naming my dog Kitchener.
But now you might think of it. Or Weber or something.
Yeah. Weber. Weber. The GP.
Man.
So we talked a little bit about collaboration, but we didn't talk that much about partnership. What does partnership look like? You know, it's the two of you running this thing. How do you jump back and forth? How do you split up the...
Partnership is a marriage.
Yeah.
It is the most serious relationship I've been in my life. We share a bank account. Yeah, it's honestly like a marriage. We were talking about this today. We talk about this a lot, actually, because like anybody, if you spend time and you have something like that's so important to you, like your business, like your way of life, there's some things that are going to get heated and you're going to have some real conversations. You're going to get like upset. You're going to freak out sometimes. And we have gone through a lot together in the last couple of years, especially through a pandemic. Like, and we've come so far. It's just like any relationship, like getting to know each other's love languages, like your communication styles, and learning that so much like intimate details about each other, about how you work and how you like respond to things and how you communicate. And like with her, it was like really cool. It was hard though. Yeah. It's fucking hard.
Yeah. In any sort of like partnership that I've been in, sometimes you're like, I'm not ready to open up this much and let someone else in that much.
Yeah. Well, that's like the biggest reason that a lot of companies fail is because their partnerships fail. And like, it's really fucking hard to start a business on your own. But if you have a strong partnership, you're like a lot more likely to do a lot more stuff, like to go places, in my opinion.
Yeah. Like, talk to me about the benefits then.
Oh, it's all the benefits. No, that's what I was saying. It was all good, right?
It just like, there's the hard stuff, but then there's the stuff that like keeps you going when you're tired and when it's a hard week, and like having that other person there that can pick up and they're like, I'm fine this week, you know?
Oh yeah. Like I've had like, I have had such like bad days, like where I just feel not confident, like, especially at the beginning, like it was real, like, it's really hard to start a business, especially like as two females, like it's hard. So if you're not feeling super confident in a meeting or something, because at the beginning you're like shaking in your boots, like presenting to a client, now it's easier. But like I was freaking out, and she would like come in and she would take over, or vice versa. If like she stumbled and got nervous, that's when I knew to come in. If one of us wasn't like feeling good or was like, I don't have an idea for this, it was like always having that second brain. And like, she thinks so differently. Like she's got an amazing mind and she's just so good. And sometimes it's annoying because I'm like, let's do this crazy idea. And I'll think nothing about budget. I'll think nothing about logistics. And she's like, well, what about this? What about this? And I'm like, can't we just have fun and do it? But I need that side, because how else do you run a business? Like we have to profit at the end of the day.
Yeah, of course. But it's nice that it sounds like she has her own like crazy too, like, you know, starting accounts for swans and stuff. So it's not all bringing it down, but it does have nice to have someone like, that's what's happening in this conversation. No one's like leveling us. Yeah. So we just keep going off.
I love it. Yeah. She's got her own crazy too. I hope she hears that. I love her.
Like a yin yang.
Like we are a yin yang. She is the Ashley Kate to my Ashley to my Mary Kate. I don't know. Peanut butter, my jelly.
I'm going to have to talk to her to get the other side of the yin yang for sure. And when you asked about it, I was like, I think I'd like to talk to her. So I'm going to reach out after this.
Yeah. Like I'm so curious what she's going to say.
It'll be like a kind of dating game thing. I'll like ask her some questions and like, I guess you don't know Robin that well. Let's talk about ambition and success and finding balance between rest and staying creative and not letting the ambition get the best of you. You have any thoughts on all that?
You just gotta like, I don't know, like it's a pandemic. I feel like my state right now, which is different than it was before. Last year, Robin would have been maybe a bit more ambitious, And I don't even want to say that like ambitious, like I'm still ambitious, but I'm also like, I care so much more about mine and Elaine's well-being than I do about any project. And I make that like I respect our clients' work and I'll get shit done. But in this kind of like world where it's like, if nobody's going to die, you have to put yourself first. You have to make sure you're getting enough rest and taking care of that, because you can't do good work if you don't. Well, you can, but then you're just kind of like dwindling away,
Yeah, it will catch up to you.
For sure.
You can like fake it for a couple of days or
a couple of years, couple of decades probably, but like you'll get wrinkles, you won't have fun.
Yeah. I think the work will suffer too.
It'll have no soul because you won't have a soul anymore. You'll be like so dead inside because you don't do anything for yourself, and you'll be like maybe living in a mansion but so unhappy. There's got to be a Disney movie about that or two.
It's got to be like a after school special of something. Rich mansion living designer.
That's like, I hate my life. This is terrible.
I only do these logos for the money.
Are there? I don't know. There's probably
what is this movie?
There's probably not a lot of super rich logo designers.
I don't think so. Just the one who made the Apple logo. Everyone else?
No, they probably made the Apple logo for like $50 and was like, yo, sign the NDA. Like, you don't need this art. It's a fucking Apple. We'll trade you an Apple for it. We'll give you exposure. That's what happened.
Were you Steve? Are you Steve Jobs in this?
Yeah, Steve Jobs was probably terrible. He probably had a million.
Like, it's a fucking Apple.
Yeah, he's like, can't you do an Apple with like 8,000 revisions and then like doesn't pay the end half? That would be Steve Jobs.
Steve Jobs is the worst client ever. That's hilarious.
May he rest in peace. That's so terrible. He's a brilliant man.
Brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
During the pandemic, you've switched. Was it just like the whole thing that like led to that, or was there a moment where you're like, my priorities have shifted here?
Well, no, like it's a whole thing that like I've been doing this like self kind of, I don't know, improvement thing for a couple of years, like getting more into exercise, taking care of my body, not like, just being a blob and doing nothing. Sure. Yeah. I have quite a bit of anxiety, and like it was like a survival thing at that point where I was like, okay, like I was getting so stressed out, and I was working a job that like I was so grateful for. It was a great job, great opportunities, but I was just so done with doing what somebody else wanted me to do. I just wanted to do my own thing. So I was getting stressed out. I was having panic attacks. I was not doing good work. I sucked. So when I left and started my own thing, it was like slower. It's not like you get like a ton of freelance jobs when you first start freelancing. It's always from my experience, it's always been kind of a slow pickup. But there I had time to be like, okay, like, how am I feeling? Like, I joined a gym, I started boxing, and then I started doing that routine first. And that was the first priority. Second priority was like work. So it was just a mind shift where it was like, okay, I'm not living to work. I'm not working. I'm not living to work. I'm working to live.
See, Elaine should have been here. She would know.
She would know for sure. But that's when I was like, okay, I just need to be healthy and have fun and be happy. And it's like changed how I create completely. And it's like, I think it's improved my design process a lot more. And I'm like, oh, that's great, because now I'm enjoying myself more and doing better work.
It sounds like you stopped forcing it.
Yeah, I was forcing it, and I was putting a ton of pressure on myself. I was like, this is good enough. Like, you compare yourself all the time to other designers. Like, I try not to, like, because it's terrible for you. But at the beginning, it's tough.
Yeah. What have you learned? Like, has there been anything in this pandemic that you've noticed or learned just about people or about?
The one thing I've learned, nobody cares. And I think when you realize that and you're like, nobody cares, like that's such a freeing feeling. I think that's what I've learned this year.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I want you to go into a little more detail. I think I know what you mean. And I want to hear a little bit more.
I think like I used to get inside my head a lot. And sometimes I still do. Like, if you have anxiety, you know what I mean?
Oh, I do.
Yeah. I mean, everybody has anxiety now. We live in 2021, Ontario, unterrible. No, it's not bad. Yeah, I would get inside my head a lot. I'd overthink and I'd be like, oh my God, what are they going to think? Like if I was like handing off something to a client, I'd be like, oh, do you think they'll like it? Do you blah, blah, blah. And I was like, at the end of the day, nobody cares about anything. And if it fails, it just fails. But if you feel in your heart, you have that gut feeling that it's right, that's all you can do. So that was kind of the moment to me that I'm like, did I do my best? Do I think it's the right thing? Do I trust that I did everything I could to make this best? Yes. If so, then I'm like, totally cool. That's my favorite thing. It's like, nobody cares. 2021.
I like that a lot. I like that even if people do care, that it's still a mental trick, because either way, a lot of anxiety is control. It's trying to control things, and you can't, even if they hate it, you can't control that. If you presented what you thought was best, right?
Yeah. And not even like with a client per se, like putting things out in the world. Like a lot of clients are, well, we're lucky too, where we don't have a lot, but a lot of businesses, and rightly so, are afraid to put out anything that's like with any risk right now. It's a pandemic. They're already like, what the hell is going on? But I think if we can get over this hump of just getting people with creative content, like getting them on these new platforms, like learning to use social media, learning to use things on digital to their advantage, and maybe changing some things up that they didn't think about changing before. It's like a really exciting time for everyone, and trying to get that nobody cares thing to be like, we post an ad and it doesn't do well, nobody cares. If it, obviously that's not the goal, is to do a shitty job. But to try to push the envelope a little bit more is kind of where I'm at right now, where it's like, okay, we know that we have something good, and Kitchener Creatives, we're getting a name for ourselves, but how do we get those companies that want to do something a little bit different and push things? And how do we encourage them to do that, rather than doing stuff that they did pre-pandemic?
Yeah. Because the world's different, and it's almost the time to push it.
With taste, of course. You have to be thoughtful, obviously. But it's a whole new world. And I think people are starting to realize that and reach out and be like, help,
Yeah. So you're doing things for clients, they care. You're doing things for people to see, they care. But then there's something so freeing about nobody cares. But then that feedback can be so positive. How do you find, that sweet spot?
Feedback from the client?
Well, and if something's working, sometimes we think something's great and it just doesn't click with people.
Yeah, totally.
How do you stay out of your head?
I don't know. I feel like sometimes I have to just be like, well, okay, I guess I was wrong. I don't know, unless you really, really feel it. I don't get too passionate about something unless I'm I know I'm right. And then I'm I get a little bit spicy, but I don't know. I don't let it bother me too much. I'm okay, well, that was our opinion, and totally get it. Let's see what we can do with your feedback. I love feedback. I think that can actually build a ton on the creative process. You need feedback, and you need other people's ideas. And sometimes they need to see it first, and then they need to know what they don't like, and then that whole process. But with that brand building sprint that we do, asking their values, asking their whys straight up front, I found that is helping a ton in the creative process, spending that time getting to know them for 2.5, 3 hours. Without that, I don't think we'd be able to do it as well.
Can it be frustrating though, when it's almost have there been times, we don't need to get in specifics, where you kind of are suggesting something and it's in line with their values, but they don't see it? How do you navigate through that?
Of course. We've all done that. I don't know. Passive aggression and sarcasm.
Perfect. Works every time. Every
time. You wouldn't even believe it. I think it's sometimes that you just can't push them. Sometimes you just need to be okay, we can do it your way, or we can maybe push it a little bit further. At least use that as a stepping stone. And if that goes well, then kind of work with them slowly. Doesn't have to happen all right away, but.
So this has been really great conversation. Thank you so much. Oh, this question I always ask and I almost forgot. So let's do that one. Yeah. So if you're going to think about your creativity and picture it in your mind's eye, how you interact with it. If you can give it a physical form, what does that look like inside of your mind?
I was actually, I read this question and I was like, oh my God, that's such a good question. It's the only thing I can think of was like, you know, the Simpsons third dimension episode when he like goes through the wall and then he sees like these grids.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not like that, but it's like, it's like the space of that. So like within my space. So I'm like in my office right now, I see around and like, I'll have like ideas and numbers and I'll have pictures and I'll have objects and like things will just kind of like pop up in my space. Do you know what I mean?
Like in your mind?
Yeah. Like I'll be like, I need to like look, or I've noticed this and my partner has noticed too. I will like I like move my feet and I'll look around and like, if I need to look for a word or a connection, like say I'm like working on a logo for coffee, I'll like look at my coffee mug. I'll walk over to the stove. I'll like look up and I'll think about different words. And then it'll be like objects in my house mixed with words, mixed with color palettes, everything just around me.
And that's also in your like mind map, like too, like your Simpson 3D world.
Well, it's like I would say I have VR glasses because I can see the room, obviously.
I like it.
I can obviously see the room I'm in, but then I'll have like different ideas pop up. Or, you know, when you're like, this is so like, we're talking about psychedelics earlier. I swear I'm not on them. But like, you know, when you look at a light for a long time, and then you look away and you get those blotches of light.
Yeah.
Like sometimes like, it's like your ideas are like orbs of like light too. You know what I mean? You're like, no, I know.
Yeah, I do know what you mean.
Okay, good. I'm like, I sound crazy when I say it out loud, but I was trying to,
I was talking to Allison last night. She said something very similar about like moths being drawn to light.
Oh, am I a moth?
Yeah. And how
am I a moth?
I guess we're all moths, according to Allison.
I love that girl. Oh,
yeah, she's great.
She's going to the Yukon in a minute. Everybody comes back to KW though. That's the thing.
Yeah.
She'll always come back.
Yeah.
Will you focus, Ryan?
Will you focus, Robin?
I can't. Ask Elaine.
I'm really trying.
I try to focus all the time. It's really hard.
I can just cut it all. So it's only awkward for you.
Oh, good.
Talk to me about the last thing that you saw, read, or heard that you just like loved, that just connected with you.
Other than my puppy.
Your puppy is very good. It's connecting with everyone over. That puppy needs its own. I'm usually against them, but your puppy kind of needs its own social media presence.
Sometimes I'm like, I get that pride when I'm walking. I'm like, my dog is the best, most handsome, gorgeous dog ever. The last thing that I just saw and I loved.
Yeah.
What is it? I think it was just today. I saw, do you know a very talented designer and illustrator in town, Bree Pointer?
Yeah.
She posted, it was just like a photo shoot, Amy Esplin.
Amy Esplin has been on the podcast.
Oh, nice. Yeah. She took these like really.
I'm a big fan of Amy.
She's so cool. Like her like design, her illustration, her fashion sense. I'm like, anyways, great girl.
Yeah.
She took some really fun photos with Bree and it was like these like GIF and Bree, she's just like a big ball of sunshine. So it was like, it just like lit my heart up. So it was seeing my friend Bree on Instagram today. I'm going to send her this podcast and be like, see, I told you I love you.
So many shout outs in this one.
So yeah, I just, I love love.
Speaking of love, what's your favorite thing to make?
I love making any food. I love baking, creating stuff. Like I love being the king of the kitchen, queen of the kitchen. Yeah. I don't know. I'll take both titles. Sure. Nothing in particular though. Right now I'm working on homemade organic dog treats because I'm such a loser.
Do you like being in there and being like, I'm running this?
I love the idea of cooking in the kitchen. Cooking's so forgiving and cooking, it's like it's the most like beautiful way you can communicate with somebody, I think, is over a meal or over food. So I'm like, I just love food.
What's your favorite thing to make food wise?
I don't know what my favorite is. I made a bomb chicken parmesan. I made some meatloaf today. I usually make like really interesting things, but my partner's like very English. So he likes things covered in sauce or potatoes or like really boring meats. So I don't even remember what I like cooking anymore. I like cooking anything as long as it tastes good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Robin, I've had the best time, even though we couldn't focus at all.
Yeah. Let me know if you need to redo this.
I'm like, I don't know. These things don't match at all. Let's just jam them together. It'll work out. It'll be like a mosaic of a conversation.
That sounds great to me. No, I'm very excited to see how you bring this all together. It's going to be a challenge. I hope you like challenges.
It'll be fine.
It'll be great.
Thank you so much for taking the time, though. Seriously.
Thank you. That was so fun.
I had the best time. So much laughs.
Can't wait to get on that short finger patio again, you know?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. He needs to get that started back up again when we're allowed.
When it's legal to go outside. Can't wait till outside's legal.
On that note, have a good night, okay? Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks, Ryan.
See ya.
Bye.
Robin's great, isn't she? Man, I had the best time. She's really fun to joke around with. And she had some super insightful, great things to say about the path to good ideas and partnerships. I love how honest she got about the intimacy of partnerships. I think that's something that can be easily brushed over or forgotten. If you're going to do it properly, it's a pretty personal relationship. Robin is the real deal. Thank you for being on the podcast this week, Robin. Thank you for your puppy, even though it's cuter than my puppy. Thank you for your love of the city and for the giggles. Alternative titles for this episode could be, Will You Focus, Ryan? Today's episode was produced by me, Ryan Leacock, with music by Smartface. Big shout out to Josh and Mixed Media Sound for cleaning up these sounds. Special thanks to Aaron from Him and Her. Thank you to you for listening. If you like the podcast, head over to the website. You can find the Creative People shop. Got some shirts and masks and fun little things on there, and links to our socials, creativepeople-podcast.com. I'll see you in a few weeks, guys. Do the work. We're making the new. See ya.